So I want to respond to a lengthy comment, a two-part comment. I'm not going to respond to all of it, but just the global warming chunk, maybe some bits and pieces of the other stuff. I'm going to get back into my theories of aging. I took off on the weekend. Of course, on the theories of aging, my next theory I think is going to be the antioxidant theory, because that theory, more or less, overlaps every single other theory of aging, despite what the creators of the other theories of aging say. Most of them correlate directly in some way to the free radical theory of aging, or the antioxidant theory of aging, or the oxidative stress theory of aging, or however you want to say it. It's all the same thing. But it's usually called the free radical theory of aging. That will be the next one that I review. But what I want to get into with the global warming religion, and it is a religion, and it does have a dogma, okay? And it is the creation of what happens. It's scientism, okay? This is what happens when science is no longer respected as a discipline, and unfortunately is seen as a collection of truths that are then put into they're lifted up to a sanctimonious level, a level where they cannot be questioned. They're seen as divine. And what's funny is I'm actually a scientific pantheist. So if anybody talks about how the sacredness of science and the sacredness of reality, it is me. Maybe that's why this bothers me so much. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, some of the things stated, you're not disproving me by simply regurgitating false truths of global warming alarmists. The facts are the facts. We are not producing carbon at a level that is dangerously overpowering the ecosystem and the ability of the carbon cycle to reuse it. That's not true. In fact, we are having an agricultural boom because of it. The other thing is this religious, self-righteous kookiness of these priests of death is that it's a very ignorant way to view it and a very hopeless way to view it. A lot of countries like China, Ethiopia, the United States, Brazil, a number of countries, Costa Rica, have implemented reforestation programs. One of the coolest things that China's done is they're starting to reforest Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. And people go, oh, you say bad things about the PRC. I say bad things where they do bad things. I say good things where they do good things. Two of the best things that China has done is they are implementing reforestation of the Tibetan desert region, and they are also making sure that Tibetans now have access to fresh fruits and vegetables year-round that are grown in greenhouses. These are good things. These are things that the United States should be doing, instead of communism bad, okay? These are things that the United States needs to think about, okay? So the fact of the matter is, Ethiopia is building a green wall on the Sahara. Various countries are working to reforest the deserts. We're not, because of environmentalism, okay? One of the things that I like about Juan Perón quite a bit was his hydroelectric power projects that have brought civilization to Argentina. Argentina was changed for the better infrastructurally. It went from being run by the British to being, the infrastructure went from being run by the British to being completely self-sustaining under Juan Perón. And part of that was the hydroelectric projects. Hydroelectric is the cleanest energy that there is. Hydroelectric is the most efficient clean energy there is. But we're not doing that. Why? Environmentalism. the idea that animals aren't adapting to climate change, which really the climate is ridiculously stable and has been ridiculously stable for at least the last 100 years. But the idea that animals are not adapting to this flies in the face of what we know about ecology and how animals do adapt to changes. And this is what also bothers me. Like, Australia is Xing out their stray cats. I'm not a believer in invasive species. To believe in invasive species is an ignorant speciesist. I hate using the word speciesist because I consider myself to be a speciesist, as I put humanity at the top of the animal kingdom because I'm a human. But the fact of the matter is, I think it is extremely ignorant and arrogant to believe in these so-called invasive species, which flies in the face of natural selection. Okay? That's how things move around the globe and adapt. And the idea that humanity has the ability to decide what species have a right to be where is completely ignorant. And I see that with the stray cat population where I live in Pennsylvania. They want to spay and neuter all the stray cats that keep the rodent populations down and things of that nature. And what's funny about that, we used to have large predatory cats in Pennsylvania, but we used to have small predatory cats that were more abundant, such as the bobcat, throughout Pennsylvania. If anything, these stray domestic cats are filling an ecological niche that we got rid of as people, and now we're saying, oh, no, they're killing birds and whatever. No, they're filling an ecological niche. That's what's going on, okay? People don't grasp that. People that worship scientism, worship at the altar of scientism, do not grasp science. They do not understand reality by scientific means. So my opinion is that, well, of course, nothing was disproven that I said, and I'm going to leave links to show that nothing I said was disproven. The fact of the matter is, global warming is not science. It's about as good as saying 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste and every other toothpaste. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. Now, with toothpaste at least, science shows that sodium fluoride and stannous fluoride and other fluoride salts, that they do something to stop tooth decay. That's what the science says regarding dental hygiene and fluoride. The science does not say that when it comes to global warming. The science says otherwise. The science also says, this is another thing, desalination. Desalination. Everybody wants to talk about water shortages in California. California is a frigging desert. Has anybody been to the southwestern United States? I have. And it's a desert. Most of it is a desert region. Okay? California used to get its water from Colorado. It's not allowed to anymore. This is why we need large scale, I don't see why it's not being done on absolutely every coast of the United States, large scale desalination to increase the amount of fresh water that we have access to as a nation. Okay, this is a thing that needs to be done. Nevada, which is a deserted region, does total water reclamation. Okay, these are things that we need to be doing, not because of global warming, but to make the land more habitable. I also agree with doing what China is doing in Lhasa, we should be doing in Phoenix, in Tucson, in Needles, California, all throughout the Southwest, in Santa Rosa, New Mexico, Santa Rosa, California. We need to be doing these things in order to green the globe. And then, but you can't do that because the environment, you're violating the Earth Mother. That's not how things work unless you're a freaking moron. And that's the problem, is people don't want to accept reality on reality's terms. And what's funny is, like, as I said, I'm a scientific pantheist. But the fact of the matter is, the ignorance of people that embrace atheism is just outrageous. And global warming is a cornerstone in their false belief system of black and white thinking. The thing about abortion rights, what I'm going to say is this: I'm not necessarily against abortion. People that follow my videos know I'm not necessarily against abortion. I'm more for state-funded orphanages and foster care systems. That's what I'm more in favor of. Why? Well, I was a premature baby. I would be an abortion if an abortion was to live. So I'm pretty sure that they're viable. I was born 6 months after conception. So I'm pretty sure abortions are viable, a lot of them. So I agree with the use of government-funded, large-scale orphanages, more so than abortion. I also think that it is, again, highly ignorant, and I get this is from Anton LaVey even. I believe it is highly ignorant for anyone to think that they have the right to end someone else's life just because that life happens to reside in their body. Just because they made a mistake does not give them the right to end somebody else's life. However, as a eugenist, I think that abortion more or less does serve a very good purpose in society, and most of the people having abortions probably should not be reproducing in the first place. Yet, there is a better solution to that. I believe that free genetic counseling, 100% free government-funded genetic counseling, because I agree with 100% pure socialized medicine, should be provided to 100% of all parents that are about to conceive or are thinking of conceiving. I also believe in IVF, this is basically abortion, but it's different because you're only throwing out the embryo, not the fetus. But I believe that in IVF fertilization, and that the embryo should be screened for different genetic diseases, and only the healthy ones should be implanted. I believe that you should take out the middleman in abortion. Okay? I also believe in abortion in the case of the mother's life. I do not support abortion in the case of rape, but I do incest. The reason I don't necessarily support it in the case of rape is because I don't see it being the child's fault that the father committed a crime. However, I'm not opposed to it being practiced right now because I think it is a means of self-defense against people like the people from the Hispanic special interest group La Raza that have encouraged their people to basically rape white women out, rape the white race out of existence, which is a thing, and the Black Hebrew Israelites that have stated similar things. So I do see that as a means of self-defense against the eradication of whites by other people that want to more or less use sexual violence to eradicate white people, especially we have the Obama regime, the Trump regime, and now the Biden regime that are systematically just completely destroying this country with respect to racial policies, the really ridiculous racial policies. I think what's funny is Biden's equitability nonsense is the reverse of equitability. As a third positionist, I support equity. Okay, but that's not what Biden's bill does. What Biden's bill does is supports the reverse of equity. What Biden did is he puts people of color before white people in all things that have to do with the government. And that's the truth. Okay, so that's not equitability. That's not equity. Okay, a third positionist supports equity. That's what makes third positionism work. Okay? Whereas communism fails. The reason communism fails is because a lot of times they accept equality at any cost. And a lot of times that equality means bringing everybody down to the lowest common denominator. Whereas, say, Peronism or National Socialism or, Italian ya-cha-cha-cha-cha, Mussolini-style stuff, that had to do with lifting up the basic standard of living so that everybody was doing well. That's the hugest difference between communism and third positionism that nobody chooses to see. That's why whenever you see people say socialism doesn't work, they're never using examples of Germany or Italy or Peronist Argentina, all of which embraced socialism. But that's not what they're using as examples of socialism. They use these whacked out Nordic countries or Canada. And actually what's funny is Canada and some of these Norwegian countries are actually doing better than the United States right now because of the socialism. And then another thing that's interesting about the anti-socialist folks is like what I see a lot. Actually, it was one of the North Korean chicks I follow. They're talking about how bad North Korea is because they lie about having socialism and nobody can get the medicine they need, and nobody can get the health care they need, and nobody can get the food they need, but yet they claim to be 100% socialist. Well, that's not socialism. But in the same breath, they're saying how great the United States is because they get free medical, they get free food, they get free this, they get free that. Well, they get that because they're foreigners. But it's not the same for the everyday working poor person in the United States. And that's the thing is this is not equity. This is the reverse of equity, what's going on in the United States. And that's all for this video.